Debt limit talks between President Biden and congressional leaders have been pushed to next week, but the uncertainty is already weighing on some industries. Joining us now is Bradley Saacks, Semafor business reporter. Brad, we've been talking so many angles on the political discussions that have been playing out in Washington, D.C., what this means for the credibility of the U.S. What are you hearing from businesses about the biggest concern going into June?
Yeah, it's catastrophic if we actually hit a default. Lending will obviously slow down. You're going to see small businesses to multinational conglomerates all pulling back on spending, pulling back on hiring, pulling back on expanding because they're uncertain. Even if you look at something not necessarily like an individual business, but the equity market as a whole in 2011, we didn't regain the losses that we had until midway through the next year. This could potentially be worse. And any kind of cut back on spending, cut back on hiring is going to have huge impact on the economy because the recession is expected if we do default.
Bradley, from the reporting that you've been doing, are CEOs, are they changing at all? Are they shifting their strategy as a result of this risk? Or what could you see happen as we get closer and closer to that X date?
I think the reality is this year's already been a very cautious year for a lot of executives. We came into the year with interest rates rising, with a tight labor market, and I don't think there was a ton of confidence in the economic prospects a year out going into this debt ceiling fight. This is just it's just another headwind in the macro environment for any executive. And so I think it just has them batten down the hatches even more.
Bradley, I know you also cover the crypto space. I'm looking at the moves today. Bitcoin is seeing its worst week since November. There's a liquidity concern here as well, but I have to wonder, in the context of what we're talking about right now, how much flows are you seeing moving towards crypto as a potential hedge? And more importantly, if you look at the moves we saw today, what was the biggest headline that drove that?
Yeah, and I think Bitcoin, even going back to what advocates hoped it would be, a potential digital gold, it didn't really act like that in certain market stress. We almost saw it act as a growth asset when interest rates were low. It was surging, while when things were getting a little hairier, it was struggling, was dropping. I think the recent bounce back in this year has proven out a lot of some of the original hopes for the cryptocurrency, and it's a big test. If we do hit the X date and there's no deal reached and the U.S. does default on its debt, if Bitcoin surges, if it holds steady, it's going to be like a great test case for anyone who has advocated for the cryptocurrency, for anyone who's been invested in it, and I think this will be like its biggest challenge yet, right? It's taking on something that it'll prove if it's a safe haven asset or not.
Bradley, when you take into account, I guess, the downward trend that we have seen in Bitcoin as of late, in terms of what is needed to be the catalyst to the upside, what do you think that needs to be in order for Bitcoin to regain its momentum?
Well, I think it's general anxieties around the crypto space. We have in the U.S. specifically regulatory issues. Talking with crypto companies based here, they have no idea what places like the SEC, like the CFTC, are going to do with the industry. Even though companies like Coinbase are not directly correlated with Bitcoin, that is going to weigh on the assets prices if U.S. regulators aren't making it easy for U.S. investors to buy the crypto in the country or buy the currency in the country. And so I think that has been weighing on a lot of investors' minds. And beyond that, we haven't seen the banking crisis that we had unfold really surge and help the price. And I think that was a test case as well, almost as lead up into this default debate, as how is it going to act as a safe haven? And so far, it didn't hit exactly the notes I think some crypto advocates would hope for.
Semafor business reporter Bradley Saacks there. Good to have you on the show today. Have a good weekend.